What's going on, everybody? LK here, and today we're going to talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ. We're going to talk about the problem with Tien. I've actually been playing Tien quite a bit recently on a side team of Gotenks, Vegito, and Tien. He's a really fun character despite being pretty simple and kind of vanilla at a glance. And the thing that I find really interesting about him is that he has some really amazing things and he has some really bad things. So let's break this down in this week's problem with Tien. Tien has been in the game since Season 1. He was a base character. He saw plenty of play when the game came out because he did a lot of damage and he was one of the few characters in Season 1 that had access to double supers. This ancient forbidden technique lets you do multiple of Tien's level 1 or whatever combination of level 1 you're doing with your team that was built for that, and it made your team do way more damage. He was already a damage powerhouse in Season 1, so the main reason you saw people play him was because he just deleted life bars, just like we're used to right now. Once they changed that, he kind of fell off. So let's talk about him now in Season 3. So first, his good points. He has good frame data. This is pretty important in the game. He has a jab that's -3. His auto combo is -4. His full auto combo also -4. His 5M is -4 also. His 2M is -7, so it's not safe. So both of his mediums are not safe, but to compensate, it's quite big. He also has a Ki Blast that's -5. And both versions of the slide are also -5. If you can get someone to block the crane dive, this is actually -2 and sets up for mix-ups. Speaking of his mediums, all of his mediums are really good buttons. His jump medium is quite far, his 5M advances really far, and his 2M honestly reminds me a little bit of poor SSJ Goku's old 2M. Quite big, it's not safe, it's -7, but it's really fast, it's 10 frame startup. Surprisingly, the character has pretty good opportunities for mix-up as well. He has a command grab that's 24 frames. He has Tiger Knee chop, so not just the air chop, he could do one low to the ground, similar to how Trunks can do a Tiger Knee Masenko during sparking. Anytime an opponent blocks a jump in, they either have to block chop or they have to block the low. And as I mentioned before, if you have an assist that gives it to you, you can get a high-low using his dive. And speaking of having good mix, he also can create his own plus frames on knockdown using Chaozu. The assist tracks, and it has a lot of frame advantage. It's also one of the very few moves to be plus on reflect in the game. And we can't talk about Tien without talking about his high damage DHCs. His supers do some of the most damage in the game. The joke is, every combo is optimal if Tien is on your team because he adds so much damage this time. Just having him on your team makes the most random hits very, very threatening. His DHC supers work with a lot of characters because there's not a cinematic after, so it's really easy to just go into him whenever you want. And last, he's helped out by Season 3 a lot actually. So because of the change to Snap, now it's much harder to target him as an anchor. One thing that people really like to do in Season 2 was to try to snap in the anchor to force a really early spark. Tien uses his own HP for his DHCs, so this was an extra good strategy against him. Because of the added variable timing to snap, now this is much harder to do. They've also made some changes to how he spends his HP over time. So one would be that if you compare his normal level 1 to sparking level 1, you can tell that he spends less HP to do this level 1 super in sparking than normally. Also, when he has no characters left, he spends less as well. His assist spread is pretty decent. So his A assist is Dodon Ray. This has been a pretty proven beam-like. It's a really good assist, pretty fast. Not a lot of blocks done, but extremely easy to combo basically since the game came out. His other assists are a little bit more niche. So his C assist is a block stun type of 50 frames, where he basically does his auto combo to you. And his B assist is his recently buffed telekinesis, where while it's slow, it has a ton of frame advantage and it helps some characters out a lot, like Vegito. So despite all these strong things, why do people always rate him like mid or lower compared to the rest of the cast? For starters, it would mostly be about the unrecoverable damage. So in good games, this doesn't make too much a difference. And when I say a good game, I would say a game where you're really watching your opponent, you're really destroying your opponent, your plan is working the way it's intended. This thing doesn't matter so much. But in a long game, especially in a game where Tien is out and playing often, this unrecoverable life thing does matter, because eventually you're not going to be able to spend meter on his supers. Specifically, you can't cash out extra health with Neo Tri-Beam when you don't have the life to spend. Even though Season 3 does help him a bit with making snapping him in less effective, it will still help because it will really mess with the opponent's match flow. He's basically always played in the last slot, so he relies a lot on having resources and health to get the most out of his game plan. Also, in my opinion, his neutral is too simple and too linear. So he only has a single Ki Blast. You might say, okay, Bardock has a single Ki Blast, and you said him having this is amazing. Why is Tien having a single hit Ki Blast a weakness? Well, the difference is, my friends, that Bardock can get to you from full screen basically instantly, where unfortunately Tien has no such move. He can use Dodon Ray, which is significantly slower than EX Lariat. Or if you want, you could use the medium slide, which is even slower than Dodon Ray. So the threat of a single Ki Blast from Tien is much lower than the threat of a Ki Blast from Bardock. He also basically has no anti-air move to speak of, so you have to move to mid-range with a normal, which is risky compared to other characters. Some characters, since we have Bardock here, he has this upwards traveling lariat. Vegito has all types of things he could use. He could use 2S, he could jump and meet them with EX kicks, he has an anti-air grab. Tien, unfortunately, doesn't really have anything like that. The best thing he could do is challenge with Dodon Ray, the new Dodon Ray. So this means he has to play Dragon Ball neutral on Dragon Ball's terms, which is honestly, as someone who's played a bunch of other fighting games, quite a struggle and is really, really difficult without these extra tools. The final point I'll mention for him is something that we mentioned a little bit earlier. He is weak when he's out on the opponent's terms. So again, in Season 2, this would be the worst because you could be snapped in and get mixed by all sorts of nonsense, right? In Season 3, though, even though the mix is not guaranteed, if he gets snapped in early, that means he will have less resources to use to do damage and mix-ups. And on top of that, you're going to be doing some type of damage to him ahead of time, which affects his long-term game plan of spending his health to do damage. Okay, hopefully that made sense. I do think this character is pretty sick, even though he has flaws. He's a pretty interesting character design. Let me know what you guys think. As usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.